Thousands of years ago, in a world carved by ice and frozen winds, massive beasts roamed the land. Mammoths, woolly rhinos, and giant bison. These were not ordinary prey. These were the titans of the Ice Age. For the cavemen, hunting them was not just a means of survival, it was a test of courage, strength, and cunning. Every successful hunt promised meat for weeks, fat for warmth, and bone for tools. But one wrong move, and the hunter could become the hunted. Before dawn, the hunters gathered. Their breaths rose in frozen clouds, and their faces were hard with determination. They sharpened stone-tipped spears, carved bone knives, and tested the strength of hide ropes. These weapons were not mere tools, they were lifelines. A single cracked spearhead could cost a man his life. As fire embers died in their camp, they prepared torch sticks, knowing that light would be one of their greatest allies in the hunt. Tracking giant beasts was an art. The hunters followed footprints that were deeper than any human footprint could ever be. They studied broken branches, tufted fur, caught on thorns, and the direction of mammoth dung frozen in time. They moved quietly over snowfields, feeling the ground with their feet, sensing vibrations through the ice. Every step was deliberate. Every whisper was a signal. To succeed, they had to know not just where the herds were, but which animals were weak, wounded, or separated from the group. Once they identified a target, the right mammoth or bison, they devised a plan. They gathered in secret, away from prying eyes. Clan elders and skilled hunters drew crude lines in the dirt, using sticks and stones to map out the terrain. Some men would act as drivers, using fire, noise, and movement to steer the herd. Others would hide in pits or behind ridges, ready to strike. They used primitive signals, hand gestures, mud markings, and whispered commands. Their eyes gleamed in the firelight, minds sharpened by generations of hunting wisdom. To trap creatures as big as mammoths, brute strength alone was not enough. The tribe built massive pit traps. They dug deep holes in the snow and soft earth, lined them with sharpened wooden stakes, and concealed them with snow-laced branches. They camouflaged these pits carefully. Some were covered with thin layers of ice or brush, so that beneath a curious step lay a deadly drop. Then, to lure the herd, the drivers used fire torches and loud shouts, steering them toward the trap with a terrifying but controlled force. When the herd was close enough, the strategy sprang into action. Hunters along the edges lit their torches. Drivers in front banged sticks, roared, and hurled firebrand branches. The herd hesitated, then panicked. Massive beasts stampeded, confusion reigned. Some animals fled sideways, others crashed into the camouflaged traps. It was a terrifying ballet of fire and fur, of fear and force, and the hunters struck with precision. For those mammals that avoided the pit, the chase continued. The hunters sprinted alongside the herd, dodging trampling feet, weaving through snow banks, and launching spears with perfect timing. A spear once thrown could hit an animal high in the flank. Another could wound one in the leg, slowing it down just enough. Team after team worked together, one to distract, another to strike, another to drive. This was not just brute force. It was a well-rehearsed dance of cooperation, skill, and bravery. When the beast finally fell, the victory was dangerous. Cavemen approached carefully, spears in hand, ready for any last thrash of life. But the risk was worth it. They celebrated, but not in loud triumph. Instead, with solemn respect, these creatures were their providers. Their bones would become tools. Their hides would bring warmth, and their fat would fuel fire. The tribe began the laborious task of butchering. Stone blades cut through flesh, bone knives shaped tendons, and hide was removed gently for later use. In the cold, every bit of the beast was precious. Cavemen shared meat with their entire tribe. Men, women, children, even elders. They stored excess meat in snow or underground pits to preserve it. Fat was rendered and stored in animal skin containers. Bones were carried back to camp for tools, and tusks reserved for special uses. They smoked slabs of meat over low fires, creating primitive preserves which would last through long winters. This was survival, but more than that, it was planning for the future. Generations passed, but the hunting secret stayed alive. Elders taught younger hunters how to track footprints, set traps, and use fire as both weapon and guide. These lessons were carved in memory long before they were carved in stone. The mammoth hunts became the heart of the tribe's story, not just for food, but for identity. Hunting together forged trust, courage, and unity. And through their ingenuity, our ancestors shaped a world where humans stood side by side with giants and won. They didn't just survive. They mastered nature. This is how cavemen caught the giants. This was the dawn of human conquest.